calling all stations to the BC Aries net. This is K9JJ, Kilo 9er Juliet Alpha Juliet, net control for this session of the Bartholomew County Amateur Radio Emergency Services net. Are there any stations holding emergency, priority, or welfare traffic? If so, please call now. At any time during the net, please alert net control with the pro words break break, and I'll assist you with your emergency. Once again, your net control station is K9JJ. My name is Jeff, and I'm located here in Columbus in Bartholomew County. 146.790 megahertz repeater at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time as an Aries training session in proper net procedure, and to provide information regarding Aries and other ham radio related activity in Bartholomew and surrounding counties. All stations are welcome to check in. You do not need to bring traffic to the net, nor do you need to be a BC Aries team member. This is a directed net, so please direct all communications through net control at all times. At this time, any station holding a non-emergency or routine traffic, please call. Announcements for the net this evening. There being no formal traffic listed and no announcements at this time, I will now begin taking check-ins to the net. Check-ins are handled alphabetically according to call sign suffix. Please check in by stating your full call sign using plain English and then standard ITU phonetics, followed by your name and your county. At this time, I'll take check-ins from stations with suffixes Alpha through Lima. That's Alpha through Lima only. Please call net control K9JJ.
KG9DK, that's Kilo Golf 9er Delta Kilo. Name is John. Location is Bartholomew County. Good evening, Jeff, and the rest of the folks on the net.
Good evening, Jeff, from N9CJT, November 9, Charlie, Juliet, Tango, Noel in Bartholomew County.
Good evening, John, and N9CJT. Good evening, Noel. Any additional stations with call sign suffixes Alpha through Lima? Call now, please. Suffixes beginning Mike through Zulu. Mike through Zulu, please call.
Kilo Alpha 9, Oscar Papa Lima, K9OPL, Joe, Bartholomew County.
Kilo 9, Romeo, Mike Romeo, repeat, K9RMR, Randall and Rueff, Taylorsville, Bartholomew County. Good evening, Jeff, and everybody else on the net this evening.
KD9QPN, Kilo Delta 9, Quebec, Papa, November, Mike, Bartholomew County.
Following stations, K9OPL, K9RMR, and KD9QPN. Once again, this is K9JJ with the Bartholomew County Aries net. We're taking check-ins at this time. I'll take check-ins from any station, anywhere, Alpha through Zulu. Please call. We'll go to the top of our list for some comments. KG9DK, good evening, John. What's going on your way?
This is KG9DK. Not a whole lot, Jeff. I seem like I've been busy, but I don't have much to show for being busy. But the big thing I've been working on is trying to learn how to program my FT70D. And sometimes it appears easy and sometimes not so easy. But other than that, just been plugging along, and eventually I think I'll get it down. That's about it on this end of the mic. So this is KG9DK, back to net control.
KG9DK from K9JJ. Okay, John. Well, you keep plugging away, and eventually, the more you do it, the more you'll remember it. And then the less often you use it, the more you'll forget it. So good luck with it all. Glad to have you on the net this week. As always, we'll break with you and check in with Noel, N9CJT. Good evening, Noel.
Good evening, Jeff. Well, news from here is I've resurrected my old HTX 202 Radio Shack handy-talkie, and you're hearing it. So a little bit of comment as to how well I'm making the repeater on 400 milliwatts and what my audio is like. It's been a long time since I've used this radio, so feedback would be appreciated. Other than that, nothing to bring, so I'll turn it back to Net Control, N9CJT.
N9CJT, this is K9JJ giving you the following signal report. You should use that radio more often. As soon as you checked in, I'm like, wow, Noel sounds really good tonight. You're making it in the repeater just fine, full quieting. There might be a little bit of noise in the back, but nothing to worry about. But the audio quality is pretty darn good. I would say probably better than what you normally use, but that's just me. But the radio's working good for you, so keep it up. Any questions on that?
I can't think of anything, so thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the report. N9CJT back to Net.
All right, Noel, thanks for being here. We'll break with you and check in with K9OPL. Good evening, Joe. How's your week been?
K9JJ in the group, K9OPL. Well, going okay. On call this week, so a little busy, but no, excuse me. Other than that, not too bad. Staying in the house most of the time with this heat, but I guess we're probably going to have a better, more comfortable weekend ahead. And playing around a little bit with 220, although I don't have a really good 220 antenna at the moment, so I may be adding to my antenna selection here. I don't know. Anyway, other than that, not much else to offer. Turn it back to Net Control and wish everybody a good week. This is K9OPL, back to K9JJ.
Okay, Joe, well, 220, I don't even have a radio for that, so I don't have anything to add to that conversation. But yeah, it has been hot. Fortunately, where I work, it's not too bad in my part of the building, but you get out front on the service line with the ovens and so on, it's a little bit warmer up there. Same with up at the where the customers first come in at the bakery and the cash registers and everything. For some reason, it's a lot cooler back in the back of the house, and that's okay with me. And if I do get too hot at any point, I just take a walk and stand in the cooler for a few minutes. But the cucumbers in the backyard are just going nuts. I plucked another 7 off of there tonight, took 2 over to our neighbor, and put 5 upstairs. We've been slicing and dicing them for the last couple of weeks now. So lots of cucumbers. Just starting to get some ripe tomatoes, so hopefully they'll start coming in a little more in abundance too. But anyway, looking forward to that milder weather you've discussed. You have a good evening, Joe. Glad you were here, and we'll catch you in the big chair next week. We'll break with you and go out to Taylorsville, K9RMR. Good evening, Randall. It's your turn for comments.
Well, it's a little muggy out here in Taylorsville, but not too bad. And I'll let Noel say I agree with Jeff. You sounded really good. As far as vegetables, we've got the green pepper. We got some green peppers that came in really good, and picked them. And now I've got 2 really big buckets full of green peppers that look and smell really good. So we use them around here for what we'll do is buy a pizza or get a pizza and then add them to the pizza before we cook it. So it makes it a lot better. Aside from that, not a whole lot going on. So with that, this is K9RMR, back to Net Control.
this is K9JJ. Roger that on the peppers. I planted one pepper plant this year, and the next day after I put it in the ground, the rabbits ate it. So no peppers this year at all. But anyway, stay cool out there, and thanks for being here this week. We'll check in with you again on another net, I'm sure. Drop down to the bottom of the list, talk to Mike, KD9QPN. Good evening, Mike. Any additional comments for us?
K9JJ, this is KD9QPN. Good evening, Jeff, and everybody else on the net. Nothing new, I guess, since last night, but just keeping on. So, looks like it's going to be decent weather over the weekend. Looking forward to that. And maybe I'll put a new antenna up or something. Also, Joe, K9OPL, if you're still listening and would be interested in a quarter wave ground plane antenna, I don't know if you're looking to actually have it like outside of a vehicle or just up in an attic or something, but I've made a couple, and that's what I'm talking on now. So would be happy to make one to your preferred frequency if you like. And I've got the equipment, which is just copper wire and the I think it's SO230. Anyway, the connector. But yeah, let me know if you're interested in something like that. That's all I have. This is KD9QPN. Back to net control.
Okay, Mike, this is K9JJ. I'm going to see if Joe has any comment on your comments. K9OPL. Do you have anything for Mike there? Go ahead.
Okay, K9OPL. Mike, thank you for that offer. I'll give that some thought. I mostly need it to be something I can use inside. So that might still work, though, but let me think about that. And Jeff, you do have a 220 radio. It's called the THD-74A, same one I have. Anyway, we forget that radio is a tri-bander. 5 watts makes it a little bit of a challenge to reach any of the 220 repeaters in the area, though. Mike, I'll stay in touch on that if I want you to do that. I appreciate the offer. I'll turn it back to net control. This is K9OPL. Thank you, Jeff.
K9OPL, K9JJ. Joe, you know, the old brain just ain't what she used to be. You're absolutely right. And as a matter of fact, I've got a predecessor of that radio that I got from K9MZV. I can't remember the nomenclature on it, but it too is a tri-bander. And but yeah, you're probably right about the 5 watts. But anyway, we'll see. Thanks for reminding me of what I already have. K9OPL, we'll break with you, and now we're at the bottom of our list. Everyone's spoken. This is K9JJ with the Bartholomew County Aries Net. I'll take one additional standby for anybody that might be listening that would like to check in at this time. If so, please call now. And CJT, go ahead.
I'd like an IF with Joe, K9OPL after the net, please. Thanks. And 9CJT back to net.
Roger that. K9OPL, your response to Noel's request.
Okay, acknowledged. And Jeff, I think you have a THF6A, I believe. And I acknowledge the IF. Thank you. K9OPL, back to net control.
We have a winner. Yes, that's exactly it. It's the THF6A. Thank you. And thank you for that response. One last call. Anybody else, any other station anywhere that'd like to check in before we close for the week, please call net control K9JJ.
KD9RPB, Bruce from Columbus. Delta 9, Romeo Papa Bravo.
K9RPB, good evening, Bruce. Good to hear you on the net this week. Go ahead with any comments that you might have.
I don't really have any comments. I did get an email from Mike saying that I've been approved for VE testing now, so that was kind of nice and a surprise. But other than that, just trying to keep everything afloat here at the homestead, working on my boat trailer a little bit. But back to net control, K9 or KAJAJ.
Well, I was going to ask you if you got that email. Did you print out your certificate, or at least save it digitally?
I was in the process of printing it out, and my printer ran out of ink. Go figure that. Back to net control, K9RPB.
All righty then. Well, hopefully you can make it to the August testing session on the 17th. Mike Likens, KB9Q, also was added to the roster for the testers. So if there's anybody listening, perhaps Mike, KD9QPN, I don't remember if you specifically voiced any interest in joining that group. If so, please contact Mike, and he'll take care of the necessary paperwork. It's a pretty quick process. Okay, well, we had one more check-in. I'll take one more standby. Anyone else for the BC AriesNet?
KD9QPN, recheck.
Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Jeff, yeah, I did get information from Mike, thanks later on, to get the certification going, and I have to, I think, do some stuff on my end before we're ready to go. But I did get that, and I do intend to get there. Hopefully, it'll be before the July testing session, but we'll see. Thanks, KD9QPN.
Mike, he probably sent you a PDF file of a handbook or something for the Laurel VEC. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's affirmative.
Basically, all you need to do is read through that and kind of familiarize yourself with it. Contact Mike, tell him that you've done so, and all he has to do is send a request off to Ray up in Anderson. No, wait, it's Ray Anderson up in West Terre Haute. And Ray will just do his magic, and boom, you'll be in. So, like I said, it's a quick process. Okay, well, this is K9JJ. I want to thank all you guys for checking in this week. It was good to have you here. Good to spend time with each other on the radio. That's why we're ham radio operators. I also want to thank the Columbus Amateur Radio Club for the use of the repeater on a weekly basis. We do appreciate it. And with that, I will say 73 to each and every one of you, and we'll close the net officially at 23:50 Zulu. That's 7:50 p.m. Eastern Time. This is K9JJ saying 73. The net is now closed, and I'm clear.
K9CJT, K9OPL. Good evening, Noel.
Hi, Joe. You want to go exercise the other repeater for a minute while we chat?
Sure. K9OPL QSY to 70 centimeters.
Sir, and 9CJT also QSY.
9CJT, this is K9OPL.
Hi, Joe. You were talking about 220 antennas. I have no idea whether this would be appropriate for you or not, but I know where there is I think, Cushcraft, and I think 4-element. I know it's got a T-match 220 beam. It was in and among all those radios that I had Josh post pictures of on the CARC website. But I didn't take a picture of it because to do so I would have had to reveal too much of the location. But if you're interested at any point in the future, it is there. And quite frankly, I have no clue what it's worth. I haven't looked that stuff up.
Okay, I will keep that under consideration as well. A little bit depends on the size of it, because I really, other than maybe putting it in the attic, I can't put it outside in my current location, as you know. Over.
Yeah, roger that. I'm going to guess it might be possibly somewhere between 18 inches and 2 feet long. And whatever a quarter wave is on 220, double that and you've got about the height of the antenna. Over.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, at that band it's not going to be huge, but yeah, well, it's worth considering. Beam would actually be a better choice than just about anything else if you want to get any distance on 5 watts.
Roger. I've never messed with 220 at all, not even made a transmission. There are a couple 220 rigs in that estate, though. Just not had time to move forward and actually have a sale.
Yeah, the only one I've got is, like I said, the tri-band 74A, the D-Star radio, and I have actually, barely, but actually did hit the Seymour 220 repeater on the rubber duck standing outside in the front yard. Not very well, but I actually made it and checked into a net with it, which shocked the heck out of me because, you know, rubber duck is not much of an antenna, 5 watts to get down to Seymour.
Well, they must have a pretty good profile on that repeater. Again, I'm totally ignorant because I've never had anything to do with 220, but there are a couple mobile rigs that are 220 in that estate sale, and I believe also a 220 handy-talkie, but you already got one of them. But I would suspect that unless there's something wrong with the beam, that if you hung that in your attic, you would be able to hit Seymour just fine with such a... Oh, if it's Cushcraft, they're going to claim 10 dB gain, and I'm not sure it's really all that, but a 4-element beam is nothing to sneeze at. N9CJT.
Yep. I don't know if you've ever seen my portable dual-band telescopic beam that I have for 2 meters and 70 centimeters. It's a small beam, but it's actually fairly impressive. I've used it just for the heck of it on a tripod in the sunroom at the back of the house, and have gotten some pretty solid D-Star connections to the Shelbyville repeater with it.
Well, that's cool. I've not seen your antenna, but I'm assuming it's kind of like a one that you would point at a satellite by hand, maybe?
It's designed, actually, it's kind of like it, 2 halves, and they telescope as actually 4 because it's got 2 meters and 70 centimeters. And it's got this, circular connector in the middle, the hole in it, which you can slide over top a push-up pole if you want to. And I just put it up on top of a tripod and aim it in the direction that I want it to go.
Roger. Okay. Well, as you were going to ponder the ground plane homemade, and by the way, Dave's pretty good at that, you can also ponder this other one, and maybe by mid to late August, we'll have organized something. But I keep kind of waiting for WW9A to get involved, and he's been out of town some, and not sure where that will go, but he's the person who actually knows the surviving family better than I do. So I'll defer to him. Anyway, that's all I've got. This repeater's sounding good tonight, so thank you again for being a repeater trustee, and I will let you go. K9OPL, thanks, and 9CJT, see ya.
Okay, N9CJT. Thanks, Noel. And by the way, yeah, your 202 really did sound nice. I could not hear you on the input from here, but you sounded great into the repeater. So that was kind of cool. I used to have one of those. Sold it at one of our ham fests. Just quick, I am assuming, since I haven't heard anything, there probably isn't any forward progress yet on the D-Star internet connection, is there?
Last I heard, Josh was turning the internet people's information over to Crown Castle so that their site engineer could touch base, and I don't know where it's gone from there yet.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what kind of response we would get from them, but I wouldn't really anticipate it should be that big a deal. But then again, one never knows. But okay, yeah, I figured it would take us a little bit just to get through all the formalities. Anyway, all right, won't hold you, but thank you for the info and the conversation. And yeah, it is good to use this repeater occasionally, see if it's still working. And 9CJT, this is K9OPL. Catch you later.
Okay, Joe. Roger that. And thanks for the feedback on the 202. It's actually what, I don't know, do you remember Carl Outram NI9T?
Oh, yeah, certainly do.
Well, Carl would call this a kludge of sorts. It's the body and even the original Radio Shack plug-in hand mic that can be used off the radio of an HTX 202, but the battery pack says ICBP4. It was designed as a alkaline cell. What was the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it's a battery case that you can stick your own batteries in for the IC2AT, and I was able to get them to work together. So that's how I'm powering the thing. It'll also take a coaxial DC external plug, but I would really have to dig into the junk box to find my power connection for that. So I'll probably just keep it on alkaline cells so that it will be something that if I have to let it sit 8 months before I use it again, it'll still have some power rather than being on a NiCad pack that dies if you don't charge it every other day.
Well, actually, the one Radio Shack HT that I still have sitting here in the drawer in front of me is the HTX 420, the dual bander.
and I bought that. I think it was for half price when they made the mistake of deciding to get out of the radio business about 15 years ago, maybe 18 years ago. And anyway, I picked one up at the local Radio Shack. I'm having trouble getting the little charger to work at this point, and it's just a wiring thing, but the battery still charges. It came with a lithium ion, so it's a fairly decent battery. And I also do have the cigarette lighter adapter for it, so I can plug it into my 12-volt power supply and run it for a week.
Cool. I don't know anything about that radio, but you just told me something about it, so now I've got half a clue.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm kind of spoiled right now with most of the radios that I have because they, in one way or another, have some accessibility features, which that one doesn't, but of course I could still tune it. But you really couldn't program it with a computer. I heard that somebody came up with a Rube Goldberg way to do that, but I never seen the article on how to do it, and I'm not sure I would try. But anyway, yeah, it's a 2 meter, 70 centimeter. I think it's 4 or 5 watts. I can't remember. I think it's 5. And it has receive on the air band as well, and weather band, I believe. So it was actually a pretty good radio for the beginning of this century, and not too large in size. Over.
Roger. Well, I think probably the 202 is 20 years older than that. This is a very simple radio. It's got a whopping 12 memories. 12 places where you can store a group of parameters for a frequency. It's rated, if it's on 13.8 volt DC, it's rated at 6 watts on high power and 1 watt on low power. And of course, it's quite a bit less than that on 7.2 volts, which is what I'm running it on with this battery pack. Let's see. Well, I remember the 400 milliwatts as being the low power, but I can't remember what it actually puts out. I think it may put out 2.5 watts on high power with 7.2 volts. But I know a pretty amazing radio repair person in Florida who considers this particular handy-talkie to be pretty much bulletproof. And if it's given even half decent care, it'll last forever, is the way he puts it.
Yeah, now if I remember right, that one's a monobander, and it's the second 2 meter HT that I ever owned.
Roger. Well, when my IC2AT became inadequate, this is what I replaced it with. That's a misnomer. I still have the 2AT, but there were certain things it wouldn't do, like PL tones. A great little radio for if I wanted to maintain a QRP low-profile packet station, but I got over packet years ago. And I don't know, maybe I'll get back into it someday if I ever retire. Hi.
Yeah, I understand that one. Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever retire. I may change what I'm doing, but yeah, the first one that I ever had when I got my General back in the 80s was a Kenwood TR 2400, I don't know if you remember Cliff Hobbs, and I can't remember his call now, but I purchased that radio from him way back in the day and used it for a good while. And the phase lock loop went out on it a couple of times, and after it went out the second time, I decided not to mess with it anymore. Sold it to somebody for, I don't know, 15 or 20 bucks, who said, I'll play with it and make it work. So I okay. But, that's the way it goes sometimes. Over.
K9OPL from N9CJT. Yep. Well, let's see. My first handy-talkie. So this is actually my third. My first handy-talkie was a FT something or other Yaesu that got blown across the bedroom when the DC charger malfunctioned. And then I went to the 2AT and now this, then this. But it's been sitting in a drawer for, probably ever since I got rid of that little bitty car I once owned. I had this little 3-cylinder Chevy that got 50 some odd miles to the gallon and might go from 0 to 60 in about 5 minutes. And it had a little place in the dash that it was perfect to slip in this handy-talkie minus its battery pack, and that was my mobile rig for a long time. And once I passed that car on to my younger son, this sort of got retired, but now it's back up and working again. Cool. All it needed was a CMOS battery. Anyway, I'll let you go, Joe, but I wanted to tell you about that 220 antenna, and it's always fun to reminisce about other stuff, too. Thanks for being a friend. N9CJT, clear with you.
Okay, same here, Noel, and always a pleasure. N9CJT, K9OPL 73s, have a good one. Catch you later.